Hello and welcome for the very first time to Tileford. Well, for the last 2 to 3 weeks I've been working on putting the fiddle yard together, and now I'm pleased to be able to do the big reveal. So here we have it. Just scan around so you can get a look at what we've got. In total there are 10 sidings, or 10 lanes I should say, for storing rolling stock. I've also on the end got a spur at each end also for additional storage. The idea being really, of course, to just get as much in here as possible and make it just a bit easier to operate trains. The track work is code 100. It's a mixture of Hornby, Bachmann and Pico code 100. A lot of it was reclaimed from Caversham Central. I had to buy a few extra bits and pieces as well, but I've tried to recycle as much as possible. The points are standard Hornby points, and the Pico curved points as well. Someone suggested off the back of my last video that I'd have more room by using the curved points, and that was a great suggestion. They were absolutely right, so that's created a lot more space. I know some people in the past have had issues with using curved points. I've got to say I never had any real problems with them on Caversham Central, so touch wood, that will be the case here. I've just gone for the Insel Frog points, and I'm using the DCC clips, which you can probably just see there. Not really worried about realism because ultimately it's a fiddle yard, it's not a scenic area. When we switch over to the scenic area, there will be a transition from code 100 to code 75. So for today's video, really I'm just going to hand myself back to me from 2-3 weeks ago, and I'll just talk you through how we got to this point, and I hope you find it useful. Okay, so the starting point of the fiddle yard for Tileford is planning out how it's all going to how it's all going to fit together. So I've actually invested in some software called Rail Modeler Pro, which you can buy on the App Store. It is available as a free download, although you are limited to the amount of pieces of track that you can connect. So, but if you're putting together a small layout or a smallish fiddle yard, then actually you could probably get away with using the free version. My fiddle yard and my plans are going to be a bit bigger, so I actually took the plunge and bought the all singing all dancing version, which was about 15-20 quid, something like that. Anyway, hopefully by using it means I won't make quite as many mistakes as I would have made if I if I wasn't using the software. I also, having used it for a bit, two things really. Firstly, it's really easy to use. Even someone like me who can barely turn on their telly has been able to put together a fairly straightforward plan. And secondly, it's also been really useful for me to just visualize how it's all going to look. So I mean, you can probably see, if I just zoom in for a moment, that there's details of some of the the layout of the fiddle yard. The way it works is over on the left hand side. Let's see if we can get it to zoom in properly. There we go. You have a drop down menu which features the track from all of the major manufacturers, and actually quite a few I hadn't heard of either. But certainly if you're using Pico and Hornby, which is what I'm doing, then you've got a full library of all of the available track, and you just choose the track that you want. And let's just show you how easy this is. I'm going to click on just a double straight here, and you just click and drag, bang, and there you go. It is that easy. So this is a software that I'm using to put the fiddle yard together. let's go and have a look at the fiddle yard itself. Okay, so as you can probably see, the majority of the fiddle yard has already been put down. There's a little bit left to do, and I thought I would just show you, how I go about laying track. There's already a lot of videos on YouTube of people doing this, so there's no shortage of other channels that have got it. But I'll just show you how I go about laying the track here. First thing, and also I'll just go through some of the things that I need as well in order to do this. So first up, well, clearly you need some track, and this is the Pico set track code 100. I'm using that and Hornby track, some of which I've recycled from Caversham Central. So that's the track. The next things that I use are these spacers, and they're made by Prowses, and the idea is that they're adjustable and you can attach them to the track, and it ensures that the spacing between the tracks is consistent. So really useful. Probably be more useful on flexi track in truth, but certainly they've got a role to play. Also, I use a track setter. Even though this is set track, I want to make sure that there's as few kinks in the track as possible, and I think sometimes when you join pieces together you can sometimes get just slight angles. So this will be used to just make sure that the track is straight through joins. The other things that I make use of, I've got a selection here of red and also black pre-wired droppers, so it's already attached to the fish plates. These have been recycled from Caversham Central and will obviously just drop down to the power bus. The good thing about having two different colours is it means you can ensure that you keep polarity. So I always use the red on the right hand rail, because right standard starts with R, as does red, and then black on the left. I need a drill, a little hand drill here, and a trusty pen to mark out the holes where the dropper wires will go. And most importantly of all, if you're going to do any drilling, you must have a mini Henry Hoover to hoover up the waste pieces of cork and what have you. Other than that, a hammer, always useful, particularly when used in conjunction with track pins, and I'll be using track pins to secure the track in the fiddle yard. My plan for the remainder of the layout actually is I think I'm going to glue it in place, because I'm using concrete sleepers, and I think that the track pins will show up and be quite obvious against the concrete. So I think I'll glue the track for the scenic areas, but for the fiddle yard, not a problem. I'm not really too fussed, and track pins are absolutely fine. Final thing that I need is a steel ruler, and the reason I have this is mainly for the end. I use it to ensure that there are gaps between where the pieces of track are joined. The reason for that is that the Tileford is located in my loft, and as with any loft, the temperature up here can fluctuate from Arctic cold to thermonuclear hot in the summer, and obviously the tracks will expand. So I leave a little bit of a gap for expansion between the tracks. The other thing that I use are a couple of coaches, and I use these really to just ensure that on the curves that we've got here, that there's no fouling takes place. If the coaches can go round the corner together without fouling, then obviously that's good. The ones I'm using here are from the Hornby Class 800 IEP, and they are very long coaches. I think they're a good couple of inches longer than your standard kind of Mark 2s, Mark 3s, that kind of thing. So the overhang is quite significant. if these can make it round the corners without fouling, then anything else will do as well. So as I say, most of the track has been laid. I've got 2 or 3 lanes left to do. I'll just show you very quickly how I go about doing things, and as I say, I'm sure there's already, I'm going to be covering stuff that you all know fairly well anyway from other videos, but here we go. Okay, so I'm going to just lay this outer line on the fiddle yard. I'm starting from this side simply because it helps to ensure that the track is square against the edge of the baseboard. So I'm using the edge of the baseboard as a little bit of a template. And the first thing I want to do is wire up the point here. So pretty straightforward. First thing is to move the track out of the way, and then really it's a case of just marking where I want the holes to go for the dropper wire, and then using the hand drill, which is okay. So that's the holes drilled. Just clear up any mess, and now what I'm going to do is just attach the dropper wires. As I said before, these are already they've got the fitch plates already attached. I recycled them from Caversham Central, so I know they work well. And it's just simply a case of connecting them up. There's one. And there's 2. Okay, so really then a case of just connecting the track, and from here I will pin it down using the track pins. I do think when it comes to laying track, it's that old adage of measure twice, fix once. Works very well, so you really don't want to be taking track up more than you have to, because that's how you get to damage fish plates and that kind of thing. So I'm going to make sure that at all times the gap remains, or the distance to the edge of the board remains the same. So I'm going to get the rest of the track loosely fitted in place, and then I shall connect it a little bit more firmly with the track pin. Okay, so we've got it loosely fitted in place. What I'm just going to do here is I'm using the edge of the steel rule between the 2 lengths of track, and that's really just to create this little gap here, which I mentioned earlier for expansion in the hot weather. So holding the track in place, it's pretty straightforward really. Simply a case of taking a track pin. I'm not going to pin every single hole down, but with a small hammer to get it going. And then what I tend to do is just pop the track setter over the top, and that helps to prevent the hammer catching on the inside of any of the rails and causing any problems there. So that's really it. Nothing too revelationary there. Okay, so now I've got the outer line laid. I'm starting on the next one in, and this is where these sort of line spacers come in. As you can see, they've got an Allen key, and that enables you to move the piece of plastic here, which has got space for the rails. So all I tend to do is pop it on there, make sure I've got the distance correct, tighten it up, and what we have there is tracks that run parallel. So I'll get on with nailing these in place and get it all finished off and show you the finished job. Okay, so that is it for the first update from Tileford. I hope that you found it interesting and useful. There's maybe some things in there that you can make use of if you are at a similar stage of developing your own layout. I'm now going to move on to the electrics and tidying up all of the dropper wires in readiness for them being connected to the power bus. Once I'm happy that that's all working okay on the fiddle yard, then I shall move on to some track laying on the scenic areas. But that's probably another couple of weeks or so away for me. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed the video. As always, your comments are very, very welcome, and I look forward to seeing you back at Tileford again in the near future. Thanks very much.